Hello everybody and welcome to Astrology and Magic. My name is Valkyrie Overdid. It's Valkyrie of the Veil. That is like the easier English version of that. Beautiful, gorgeous. Welcome to the show. I'm super looking forward to this episode. I realized we need a special episode. I normally in the podcast only go over kind of like a week to week basis, right? Sometimes there's some bigger picture stuff that comes through. And that's great, and I love it, and wonderful, right? Yes. This time, though, this is a special episode. We're doing a little bit different. Today's a little bit different. We're doing something a little bit different, needed. It's 2025, about to arrive. I don't know exactly when this is going to get posted, but it's 2025. We're in a new year. We have new astrology. We have new things to look out for. We're here. We're new. We're here. Congratulations to you for making it through the seasons that are done. Okay, let's talk about it. I want to give kind of a preface before we get into the episode. I'm not going to be going over a lot of the smaller transits. If you are someone who does enjoy looking at these smaller transits, the moon cycles and being really specific with them, all that good stuff, right? If you're somebody who's into that, sign up for the blog. I send out weekly updates with the podcast, or you can follow me if you're listening to this on any of the platforms where the podcast gets pushed out. Go ahead and give us a follow. Us? Who? Me? Give me a follow, I suppose. It's just me right now. That's true. Editing everything up for you, pushing it out, pushing it through as I do. So if you're interested in more of those updates, I may have some other special episodes come out in the future just because of the astrology for this year. It's getting a little funky, not funky in a bad way, just like we got a lot going on. So there may be some more special episode stuff that happens this coming year. Also, too, my books are closed right now. My sessions are closed. So I will be bringing more content after about January. That's when my sessions are pretty much done and completed, like the end of January. So I'll be making a shift then to be bringing more content onto our public spaces and focusing a little bit less on the one-on-one, which I am very grateful for because this is a transition that I have been asking for years, the shift. And I've kind of had to go back and forth. So thank you so much for the support on my channels because it has actually allowed me to become this full-time and be able to step away from sessions. It is what it is, something that I need for my practice, something that I need for the way that I move. So I'm grateful for that. I just want to say thank you for a moment. Thank you. So beautiful. Thank you. Is there anything else? Any other updates or any other things that are important for my offerings to you? I've got some books out, Book of Spells series, the Norse Magick series. Those are going to be available down below. I've got cards. I've got a rune deck. The runes, love them. Yes, beautiful. Actually, I have them right in front of me. If you are someone who is on the video version of this, you see some of the cards. They're pretty, yo. They're pretty. Anyway, so that's the deck. I've also got a tarot deck up. What else? What other things are up there and available? Anything? Right now, those are kind of like the main things I've been telling people about. I've got my other platforms available as well. So that's kind of it for now. That's what we got going on. That's what we got going on together. Beautiful. If you're an exclusive subscriber for the blog, the new moon in Capricorn just got sent out. So enjoy that. Do enjoy it. Pretty good. Yeah. I think that's pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good recently. I don't know about you, but that new moon in Capricorn really say, here's the new story. Are you ready? Because here you go. Are you ready? Here you go. It's different now. All right. So let's get into kind of what's happening, the bigger shifts. I'm going to go month by month throughout the show. And we'll just, because I don't know that I'm going to be able to give a big overarching picture until maybe the end. I don't know if we need that big of a big overarching picture, to be honest with you. I do have some transits in here of just like pay attention. When I get to the end of the year, we don't have as many specific transits to focus on, at least none that I wrote down. So we're focusing more on the vibes once we get to like October. But for now, we do have some specific ones. So starting in January, we've got some shifts happening in January. The lunar nodes on the 29th. This is a really interesting switch up. It's a really interesting switch up to start the year with. The lunar nodes are going to be switching over. The south node is going to be in Virgo. The north node is going to be in Pisces. The south node is really about like our human skills. What are we really good at on the earth? And when the south node moves into a new sign, it asks that we get really good at whatever that is on the earth. To like build the skill, retain the skill, and kind of lean into what you're already doing that is good for you in that skilled place. So wherever Virgo is in your chart, your 6th house and Mercury, those are going to be some places to focus on if you're looking at your personal stuff. Because South Node in Virgo, it's going to be very, very body information integration. It's also indirect language. So kitchen magic, if you're a kitchen witch, the kitchen practitioners, okay, kitchen magic for the next couple of years, going to be super heightened. If you're somebody who works out, keeps a health regimen, one of the things I've been kind of saying or prefacing with the South Node in Virgo energy is everybody has a different level of physical capability. So if you like, there's like, how do I say this? It's like the modern, you must do these things to be healthy, or you must be in this sort of like practice for things to be healthy, whatever. Okay. If it works for you, then it works for you. Don't overdo it. Don't overwork it if you don't need to. And find something within this next couple of years that really allows you to have a system that is healthy for you. I don't know what that would look like on a personal level, but that's really what the South Node in Virgo is asking for us. We're leaning into our body health. There could be some things, because it's asking us to get really good at that energy, there could be some things that come up health-wise in the physical that we realize like, oh, I've had the answer for that, or oh, the answer for that's really easy. So that's going to be the South Node in Virgo. The North Node being in Pisces, that's a little bit different. Our North Node being in Pisces, we're focusing on purpose. So let's go back. The North Node, South Node's really good on the earth, right? North Node is about way high up in the sky. What's my purpose? That thing that I know that I need to do and I need to walk towards, but I have no idea, no clue, no idea how to do it. I don't know where I'm going really. I don't know the direction. I just know it's what I need. When you follow that path, people call you a little bit crazy. People call you a little bit weird. People call you strange, whatever. I find a lot of the times people, like in the chart readings I've done, that people come to spiritual practices a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of the times. People come to spiritual practices and spiritual places because they are learning how to follow that North Node energy, and they're looking for systems or tools or wisdom or information that might help them. The North Node is very spiritual in its essence. It's a very, very spiritual thing. It's about following your heart, following your callings, following that purpose. And a lot of the times in spiritual practices, like, that's what we're doing. That's what we got going on, you know? So the fact that we have the North Node, which is representative of following our spiritual purposes, moving into Pisces, which is about our spiritual practices and our spiritual transitions and our spiritual disciplines and our spirituality, and like moving through the veils, I think it's going to be a really interesting switch up. Especially too because we've had Saturn and Neptune in Pisces for a while. Neptune is like what, 11-year transit, and then Saturn is like a couple of years. So for the previous couple of years, Saturn moved into Pisces in March of 2023. We've had this energy of like, get your spiritual lives together. Get it together. Saturn and Neptune have been looking at us up from the sky being like, okay, kids, get your spiritual lives together. You got your practices together. You got your discernment. You got your discipline. You got your activate. Get it together. Get it together. And if you know Saturn can be very serious. Saturn is very serious. Saturn is a teacher. So we have this like really, really serious energy of Saturn asking us to get really serious about our practices. And this is a gorgeous, beautiful transition of our practices. There's going to be a lot of changes this year. Let's look a little bit more big picture for a second. Because of what's happening with Neptune, Saturn, and the North Node, there's going to be a lot of changes this year spiritually. Spirituality is going to look different in society. Spiritual practices are going to take a turn. Spiritual practitioners, I've been saying this for months now, and I'm going to say it here because it is something that we all need to hear. Spiritual practitioners in the year of 2025, probably through 2027, okay? I haven't looked at the specifics of 2026 when it gets down into like the nitty gritty of things, but applicable probably through 2026 and partially 2027. Spiritual practitioners are gonna have an upper hand. Okay, do you understand what it is to have an upper hand? That means that you're prepared for things. That means that you have a control in situations where there's chaos. It means that even if you're walking blind, you have the skills and ability to navigate and move how you would need to, so you're protected and directed in a healthy way. Spiritual practitioners, at least that's, that's one of the ways you could look at it. That's how I'm going to look at it for now. Spiritual practitioners over the next couple of years are going to have the upper hand. They're going to have the upper, do you understand? Do you understand your upper hand? Do you understand? 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 Let it land. Do you understand? Let it land. Do you understand? Let it land. Let it land. Let it land. Love you, land. Let it land. Spiritual practitioners are going to have the upper hand. So even though during this year, Saturn is going to be moving into Aries with Neptune, they're moving into Aries, which again, spiritual switch ups, we're going to get more into that in the coming months down after January. Still in January, looking at some bigger picture stuff. It is what it is. We've got some new spiritual activations happening. So Saturn, the order of spirituality, Neptune and Saturn, they're still going to be together. They're just moving into a different sign. And Pisces is the home space of Neptune. So it's going to feel a little bit different. There's going to be some shifts. Again, we're going to go over specifics a little bit later on. But with that shift, we're receiving a gift. It's like spiritual gifts. Spiritual gifts. And a lot of the people I've been working with over the previous, year and a half have not been practicing for very long. It's been people who are fresher into the spaces, maybe for 6 months, year and a half. It's like people who are just less than 3 to 5 years of practice, very specifically spiritual practices under their belt and under kind of what they're doing. That's not to dismiss the human experience that you have, because that is also a spiritual experience. And having a more disciplined spiritual kind of area of your life, that it's been about a year, 6 months to a year and a half is the time range of people that I've been working with recently. So being more what I would call quote unquote, what I would call fresher or beginner, like a fresher energy to a practice. One thing I will recommend as somebody who's got many years underneath their belt, in their toolbox, don't stop practicing. Don't stop practicing, okay? Don't stop. It's not that you're gonna drop the ball. It's not that you're gonna fall, scrape your knee. None of that. Just with the transits we have, don't stop. Sometimes resting is a part of that spiritual practice. Necessary, needed, okay? We're humans. I gotta sleep, I gotta dream. I gotta rest, I gotta digest, okay? Valid. Don't stop your practices though. Be very disciplined, be very discerned, because when this energy switches over, the North Node being in Pisces, there's some things spiritually where we're not gonna have as much of a groundedness with our practices. It's gonna feel very up in the air. There's a new direction spiritually. We're receiving new spiritual purpose while the North Node is in Pisces. And we're being asked to look at our transitions a little bit differently. And a lot of the times when that happens, there's this kind of well, things are up in the air, so what do I do? And the North Node asks you to make the decisions. The North Node is well, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. You just have to go do it. You have to figure it out. So because of that, there's gonna feel this, how do I say? It's there's more air around those spiritual practices, and there's more room because of that to have kind of a space between each practice or place where you would practice. So keep practicing. Don't stop practicing. Keep practicing. Keep your practices up. Keep practicing. Keep practicing. Keep practicing, okay, I don't want to overdo it, but you know what? Keep going. Keep going. Okay, so that's going to be are nodes. That's a very general look at what the nodes are going to be doing and kind of what to expect from them. The switch up of this is going to be really interesting. It happens several hours before we have a new moon in Aquarius, where Pluto has just moved into at the end of January on that 29th date. So it's gonna be different. It's gonna be a little different. We've got the ushering in of the lunar nodes at the same time that there's a ushering in of a new moon where Pluto now is for the first. It's gonna be different. We're gonna have a very different season. Very different season. January is kind of like the whole entire month of January. We're kind of like wrapping up the ends of the old stuff. We got to finish some things out, be done, clean out the closet, clear things out. You know, at the beginning of the new year, I like to have things clear too. You know, the house is clear, my mind is clear, clear out the closet, clear out whatever you need to clear out. You got it. Figure it out. It's good. You know, make it be easy for yourself. Let it be easy for yourself. You don't have to make it be easy. Just let it be easy for yourself. So then January, we're kind of like realizing, okay, well, this has got to be done so I can move on. Okay, this has got to be done so I can move on. Okay, this has got to be, I want to move into this, so I got to finish this. So it's like a big time of like finalizations. We're already in the new story, so it's very much just a done. Like, I got to be done with this because I'm already here. I got to be done with this because I'm already here. I got to be done with this. I'm already here. So we've arrived. We're like in the new thing. We're in the new story now. But because of that, it's like when you arrive at the new thing, you kind of realize sometimes like, oh, I might have brought too much with me, or like, I don't need to do this anymore. So that's going to be the month of January. And that's in preparation for those nodes switching over. We'll get into the eclipses in March, but it's going to be a little, it's going to, just make sure that you're doing everything you need to do, okay? Just make sure. This is a year where if you're doing everything you need to do, things are gonna go super great for you. Things are gonna go super, super great. They're gonna go so good. They're gonna go so easy. It's gonna be so wonderful if you're doing everything you need to do and it's just the life that you live. But if for any reason you have time to give and you give it to a thing that is, you know, you don't need to be doing. Let me be in my articulation, that you know you don't need to be doing. If you give your time to a thing that you know you don't need to be doing, this year, the impacts of that are going to be a little bit bigger than maybe they normally would. So just in preparation, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. One of the other things I put in the notes for this month is that expect the unexpected, deliver, and be a giver. Deliver and be a giver. Yes, expect the unexpected, deliver and be a giver. Because of this switch up that we have at the end of January, again, most of January wrapping up the old story because we're in the new one now. We've arrived. We don't need the old stuff anymore. We have new tools, we have new sites, we have new. It's new. Deliver and be a giver. This is a time to like really just show up. Show up for you. Even the fridge turned on when I said that. Show up for you. Show up for what you gotta do. Show up for the life you want to live. Show up for yourself. Show up for the people around you. If you have people who rely on you, show up. Deliver and be a giver. And when you do that, expect the unexpected. There's probably some things that are gonna happen where it's Pluto's in Aquarius now, so we have chaos. We have chaos. Chaos is chaotic. It's gonna be a chaotic year. It's gonna be a chaotic year. It's gonna be chaotic, unexpected. So because of the way that these nodes are switching over, the lunar nodes also are connected to Pluto being in Aquarius. Pluto moved into Aquarius when the North node was in Aries and the South node was in Libra. When Pluto starts to move out of Aquarius, the North node, again, is going to be in Aries and the South node is going to be in Libra. So they're working together. Those eclipse cycles, those lunar cycles, and Pluto. Secretly, they've like linked up. They've linked up in the background, and it reminds me kind of like if you've ever been in class before and had to do a group project, and all of a sudden you get to partner up with your best friend. You don't normally get to partner up with them. That's kind of what this is. It's like the next 18 years is kind of like a rare occasion for the moon and Pluto to be working together, okay? There may be some things you might disagree with or whatever. It is. There's sometimes you have to kind of work together, cords to sever. And at the same time, it's going to be real clever. Pluto's that dark secret stuff. The moon's also kind of secret, a little bit dark, a little bit wavy, you know? Illuminated. way more than Pluto. That's true. And so the fact that we have, I was not saying it's interesting. It's interesting to me that we have the lunar nodes switching over just hours before a new moon in Aquarius where Pluto is, because guess who showed up? The lunar nodes, the moon, and Pluto. Guess who showed up? Oh goodness. Guess who showed up? So February, moving into February to April. Let's look a little bit more big picture before I get into some of the specific stuff. February to April, there's a lot, like we're going into eclipse season. The nodes just switched. There's a lot of stuff happening with the North Node and Pisces energy during this time. We have the North Node conjunct with Saturn in Pisces, North Node conjunct with Neptune in Pisces. There's like many other conjunctions of Piscean things that are happening while the North Node is in Pisces during this season. So it's like our spiritual practices are lit up. Lit up, get up, lit up, get 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 up. This is like, how do I say this? You ever been sleeping comfy in bed? Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. This is, oh gosh. You ever been sleeping comfy in bed and then you have either like, let me rephrase that. It reminds me of a mom coming into a kid's room and the kid like is sleeping in, doing whatever they're doing, you know, and the mom comes in and is like, get up. Get up. Get up. Kind of aggressive, maybe not angry, but just like, you gotta go now. This is you gotta go now. Get up. The energy shifts. Get up. This is a time for using your gifts. This is a time also for like magic practicing, exploring new things. Get up. This is time for elevation. This is a time for redesignation. We're putting ourselves in a different position. This is get up. This is also a time too, because with what's happening, again, Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries and their conjunction this year is like it's the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, okay? So I'm kind of going to center the show around it a little bit just because I'm really looking forward to it. But because of that shift, I'm going to talk about it a little bit for this month too, okay? Because of that shift, Saturn and Neptune being in Aries, they have a conjunction at 1 degrees for a while. Aries is war, yo. It's war. It rules the head. It's the beginning of new things. So Saturn and Neptune being in Aries together, being conjunct, it's possible that things could go defunct if you're not keeping up on your practices. If you're not doing what you need to do, there could be some spirits around you who are very easily able to trick you out of whatever it is that you want or whatever it is that you're doing. And this is a year where things are gonna get like, if you're not clear on yourself and clear on your practices, it's like danger zone kind of. And Saturn and Neptune, what they've been doing in Pisces for the previous couple of years have been they've been preparing us. Like, get yourself together spiritually, kids. We got things to go and do. But those things that we got to go and do, we're headed into some kind of, could be a battlefront. It could be just something that you want and you need to be in the work of it. It kind of depends on who you are and the energy that you work with. Okay, so valid. And also, it's very serious. The energy spiritually of this year, it's very serious. If you're prepared, then the seriousness becomes pretty easy. However, if you don't keep up on those practices, things could go very wrong sort of quickly. So this month, February, is like, get up. Like we're about to leave. You might not understand yet where you're going. You might not understand yet what Saturn and Neptune together in this Aries conjunction that happens later in the year, like what are they really asking for you to do? You may not understand that yet. And that is totally okay. But if that mom comes into the room and is like, hey, you got to get up now. We have to go to the store. We were doing this other thing. There's like a surprise planned, okay? The mom isn't just asking for you to get up. Like, the mom has stuff to do and needs you. Love you, the mothers, true. Mom has stuff to do and needs you. Yeah, okay? And also, mom has stuff to do and needs you in the middle of that doing of things, you gotta get up because you gotta go do some things with mom, okay? Mom has some things. Mom's like, okay, well, also, what about this and this and this? Let's get you some extra stuff. Like, I've got to go do all this stuff, but I'm also in a giving mood. This isn't a mom that's rude. This is a mom that's coming through to make sure that, like, we got to get you food. We got to get you set up. We got to get you, it reminds me maybe somebody's moving into a dorm kind of thing. It's like, okay, we got to get all the furniture. We got to get it together. Like, you've gotten things together spiritually. Get up now, because not me, but I, as a narrative of like the mother figure in this, okay? I want to be able to offer these things to you, but I can't do that if you're not up and ready. I want to be able to offer these things to you. You got to get up. You got to get up. Okay, so that's February. It also too with February through April, those conjunctions that are happening with the Pisceum things, it's like lighting it up. It lights it up. So much spiritual clarity, so much spiritual wisdom. There's so much spiritually activated through this time. This is also like, make sure you're having practices to keep grounded, because again, the North Node is super high up in the sky. Pisces is the veil, so it can be really ungrounding. It's kind of supposed to be, in the sense that things have to come back to the earth. Pisces is the clouds, so like if it gets lifted up, it has to come back to the ground somewhere. And the South Node being Virgo, and the body information integration is the easy part is grounding it. The difficult, I don't know how to do this maybe yet, or it's a little bit uncomfortable part, is the spiritual information that is up. So if you go back and forth between those two, if you can bring in those grounding practices for you, it'll be a lot easier. The information will have a place to be, it'll have a place to ground in. This is also a big season of application practices, putting it into application. You may have been learning about things, now it's time to apply. It might feel a little different, it's gonna be different, it's gonna be new, but it's time to apply. It's application season. We also have Jupiter goes direct in Gemini on the 4th of February. Mars goes direct in Cancer on the 24th of February. This is gonna shift our masculine energy. We've got some shifts of the masculine and feminine energies happening at the beginning of this year. This is gonna shift our masculine energy. So throughout February and then into March, which I'm actually looking forward to this, the feminine masculine kind of dynamic has been undergoing a lot of shadow work and a lot of reconsideration and a lot of just like deconstruction, reconstruction. There's been a lot of hard work with feminine and masculine with our transits over the previous couple of years. Really reconsidering things, really understanding a lot of different, it's been very difficult. Okay, I don't know about you, but I know about me, and it's been hard work. Getting my hands up in the dirt, okay, making sure that I have a field so I can plant the flowers, grow the seeds, do what I need to do. I've been pulling out a bunch of weeds, okay? I've been making sure that I've got a fence up so that the bunnies don't get in to eat my lettuce when it's growing, that kind of thing, right? So that we've been in this big masculine, feminine preparation energy for several years now. Very connected to the North Node being in Aries and the South Node being in Libra. There's a lot. I'm not going to get into like the super depth of it, but there's been a lot of that stuff going on. We're also going to be experiencing, we're in a Mars retrograde as I'm filming this, and we're going into a Venus retrograde in, when is it? Is it March that happens? Or is it, I think it's March that happens. Let me double check. In March, yeah. So the fact that we have this masculine energy in February, both Jupiter and Mars, which are figures of our, like if you're reading relationship-based charts for the dynamic of a masculine and a feminine, the Mars and the Jupiter are what we would look at for more of like the husband masculine energy. There's a lot of different ways to read relationships, and it's very based on your personal charts. But if you're looking at some of the older, more quote unquote traditional / very patriarchal astrology, that's gonna be hopefully you laugh with me about that one, okay? Changing the narratives. But that's going to be what we're looking at for more of the masculine energy. So the fact that both Jupiter and Mars in the month of February are turning around and going direct, it's like, okay, I don't need to sit in these reconsiderations anymore. I don't need to sit in the reconsideration of who I am as a man, or what it means to be in manhood, or the father figure, like reconsidering father figure, father archetype, and like what was the parenting of that, refathering my inner child, all of that sort of stuff, okay? And we just had Chiron go direct at the end of December as well, so that's helping the shadow of the masculine turn around and be a little bit easier as well, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. So February, this is a time where, when I said get up, it's the time now. Mother has also stepped back into more of a masculine gotta get it going energy, because the feminine's about to turn around. The Venus is about to turn around. We have this feminine archetype, Venus archetype in March throughout the entire eclipse season, mind you, and Venus retrograde is associated with the 40 days and 40 nights of drought. It's like you just have to figure out how to have a moment of, I don't know, survival might be a word, but it's like you got to do, like, work with what you got. Work with what you got, because there might not be anything new coming through. There may be, it depends. We're going to talk about Venus retrograde in a little bit, especially because it's over eclipse season. It's a little bit different. And because of the shifts that we have with the masculine in February, the getting up and the doing energy, necessary. It's like, okay, the feminine needs us. Let's step into the work now. Let's step into the work. We've had a lot of time over the previous several months to sit, rest, digest, reconsider. January is going to ask us to do a little bit of that as well before we step into these activations. So January, adjustments. February, we have this start, activate, and there's a lot of things that are, it's like an offering plate. If you have an offering plate in front of you, and like, how are the spirits supposed to feed you if you have not put anything on their plate? How are the spirits supposed to feed you if you haven't done any of the work? How are you supposed to have your dreams come true if you haven't done any of the work? And I don't mean in the physical. Physical work with South Node and Virgo, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, congratulations. The spiritual work is the stuff where it's like, okay, well, you got to make the offerings. Pisces is associated with sacrifice. It's associated with spiritual sacrifice and making offerings and making sure that you're making those offerings so you can receive what it is that you need. You can make it through your transitions. You can have safe transitions. So if you're looking at any of these, maybe goals or dreams, anything that you're wanting to do for the year, for the next couple of years, really, make your offerings. How are they supposed to feed you if their plate is empty? How are they supposed to feed you if they don't have anything to work with or to go on? So this is, keep the plate full. Keep the offering plate full. You realize, like, how do I say? And you could bring in a bigger offering plate too. If you needed to, you could bring in a bigger offering plate if you really needed to, so that there's more there. There's going to be more for you eventually as well. That's true. That's true. When it comes to offerings, with Pisces energy, it's like you offer it, it goes up to whoever that spirit is, and then once it comes back around, that's when it grounds. Again, the circle cycle of like that rain, Pisces associated. So making those sacrifices, making those offerings, it's not just a sacrifice of like time or duty or however that might be. It's being able to connect those offerings to the physical somehow. If you're doing like tattoo magic, that's something that could be applicable. If you're making offerings of food, candles, water, flowers, incense, and that's like kind of more typical spiritual stuff. Okay, valid. If there's anything else though, there's magic is magic. Be creative with it if you need to be. You know, those are just some pillar archetypes of offerings that I would give. That's true. There could be too with the North Node in Pisces, some things that come to ground that have been kind of floating around. Maybe you made some offerings. Maybe there's some work you did a long time ago that hasn't been here yet, hasn't returned yet. Okay, cool. Well, it'll be here soon, eventually, when it's ready. But you got to keep them fed. You got to keep them fed. It's like, what it reminds me of too is like, if it's a circle, it's like a wheel. The wheel's not going to go anywhere if the feeding at the bottom of the wheel stops. The offerings, we're like looking at a tire or a wheel and it's spinning. It's on the ground. If it's on the ground, you making the offerings is what is spinning the wheel to go up and up and up and up and around. But if you stop making offerings, the wheel stops spinning. So everything else that you, like the offerings you have made, they don't spin to come back around to the ground anymore. So keep making offerings. Okay. Keep doing it. What else do we have going on? Anything? Also, February is going to start our eclipse season. We have a new moon in Pisces on the 28th. This new moon in Pisces on February 28th, it is not an eclipse. So I kind of want to introduce you to the way that I read eclipses, just for relativity, because we are going to go over this eclipse season and the eclipse season that is happening later in 2025 in this episode as well. So the way that I read the eclipses is, there's always going to be a new moon eclipse. There's always going to be a full moon eclipse. If the full moon eclipse is what comes first, that means that there is a new moon before that full moon eclipse. The new moon was not, in the structure of this, was not the eclipse. However, the new moons rule over the moon cycle. So if there's a new moon that rules over a moon cycle where there's a full moon eclipse, but the new moon itself in that cycle is not an eclipse, that new moon is still gonna have a say in what happens on that full moon eclipse day. That's why I read it the way that I do. It might not be the main player, it might not be the main focus, it might not be the main whatever, okay? But it's still gonna have an influence. It's still gonna bring part into what happens in that full moon. So with February 28th, that eclipse, where are we again? It's not an eclipse, my bad. February 28th, not an eclipse. It is a new moon in Pisces, interestingly enough. It's not an eclipse. The North Node's in Pisces. So we are going to start to feel the impacts of the lunar nodes because the lunar nodes rule over those eclipses and the North Node will be in Pisces. So we'll have an activation of the North Node, okay? An activation of the North Node, but it's not going to be an eclipse energy. This is really going to have, like, if we're looking at the rain cycle again, because it's Pisces energy, this moon is going to put the electricity in the air where the rain clouds are. It's like sometimes it rains and there's no thunder and there's no lightning. The new moon in Pisces on February 28th, there's already clouds in the sky. Okay, there's already transition happening. There's already work being done. There's already rain that is traveling to go ground somewhere. The new moon in Pisces, it puts the electricity in the air. So this is a rainfall that would not have had lightning, would not have had thunder if it were not for this new moon. It's going to ground probably later in the year, probably in the next eclipse season. Okay, valid. Because the next eclipse season, we got a full moon in Pisces. So what you charge up on this new moon in Pisces, that's what that electricity, the luck striking, however it is that you might work with lightning and kind of that the storm energy, okay? That's gonna be associated with this new moon in February. So good. So that's what we got going on for February. March is gonna change a lot. March, things are gonna get really hot. Things are gonna get, I don't care that it's not summer yet, it's gonna get really hot. March is gonna get really hot, it's gonna change a lot. It's gonna get hot, okay? It's gonna get hot, things are gonna heat up. It's like if you've had the pot on the stove for a while, finally the water is boiling, and the water is not just gonna boil. You know how sometimes you get it, it's like bubbling a little bit, but no. Not just that. We're not just gonna get it to a boil. It's gonna be a rolling boil. We're gonna get it to a rolling boil. This month is like, it's really hot. It's really hot. It's a really, 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 really hot pot. It's a really, 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 really hot pot, okay? Really, 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 really hot pot. So just prepare yourself, because when things get hot, it's a little bit unpredictable. When things get hot, it's a little bit more intense. When things get hot, it's a little bit more, okay? Also, we have Aries involved in this month, energy of war going on. Things are gonna get hot. You're probably gonna feel a little hot yourself, okay? Feeling hopefully good about yourself, feeling a little hot. Things are gonna get hot. It's gonna get hot. So however it is that you handle that hot energy, practice that for yourself. We have the lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 14th, bringing illumination really to kind of what this whole entire South Node in Virgo is going to be about for us. Could be illumination on things that have already been done. It could be illumination on things that we're grounding in. Could be illumination on things we need to start practicing. Illumination kind of depends on how you've been working with Virgo energy already, kind of pre those nodes changing and kind of what's been happening with your Virgo South Node, 6th house and Mercury stuff personally throughout this previous season. That is going to give you kind of like a reason. Okay, what is it I need to focus on? What direction am I going in? What practices do I need to integrate? How am I going to work this body information integration together with the North Node, spiritual stuff that's happening? So it'll bring illumination, it'll bring clarity. We'll have more of an understanding as well, where it's like, okay, maybe this can be easy. Whatever it is that you're working on and trying to do, maybe it can be easy. This is when the water starts to boil. This is the start of it. Remember I said we're going to get to a rolling boil? This is the start of the boil. We're not quite to like the hot pot, but it's still hot. It's hot enough to boil, okay? Hot enough to boil. All right. Then we have the solar eclipse that's happening in Aries on the 29th of March. What a curious eclipse. What a mysterious eclipse. I feel like Aries has some interesting surprises for us. This is closing out the previous lunar nodes by starting a new cycle. Okay, so like we have this grounding of what we've been going through in the previous North Node in Aries. Something grounds, so wisdom, information. Aries rules the head, so something of our mind coming to ground. We could be lifted up completely and totally out of a situation that we've been trying to get out of finally, and grounding in the new cycle, grounding in the new place. The transition probably has already happened, okay? So this is something you've already been working on, something you've already been doing. Comes to ground, though, around this eclipse time. The reason I say this is interesting, a little bit curious, a little bit mysterious, is because we have the 30th, so the eclipse happens on the 29th. The 30th, Neptune crosses into Aries. Before it crosses into Aries, it's conjunct with the Mercury retrograde at the very, 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 very end of Pisces. Basically in Aries. Not quite, it's in Pisces, all right? Valid. And also close enough that it's like less than a 1 degree orb to Aries. What you got cooking up? What you got cooking up? Hello, what you got cooking up? It's a time to look up. This is a time to look up. Cook up, look up. Cook up, look up. Maybe you're looking up recipes too. I don't know. Whatever it is you need to do, cook up, look up. It's like now we're at a rolling boil. What happens if you're making pasta, right? You got to get it to a rolling boil before you put the pasta in the pot. So what are you cooking up? Because now's the time to put it in the pot. Whatever it is that you got that you need the pot hot for, put it in the pot. Put it in the pot. Put it in the pot. And do a little dance maybe too. That makes me want to dance a little bit. Put it in the pot. Let it get hot. Put it in the pot. Let it get hot. Let it get hot. Put it in the pot. Let it get hot. That meal's gonna be so good. Focus really too. The South Node in Virgo is a lot about imbuing energy into the food that we're eating so that we can have a really healthy relationship. It's like, if I want to feel more love, I'm going to imbue love into the food that I'm making so then I can eat the love. It's going to integrate the love into my body. So really paying attention to, one of the things, if we're looking at some of the personal practices I keep as someone who has a lot of Virgo power 6th house stuff going on in their house or in their chart on a personal level, one of the things I stopped doing a long time ago is eating out all the time. I used to work as a bartender in the service industry, and I was a part of like that space. Beautiful. Love that chapter for myself. No longer in it though. And so I would eat out pretty consistently just because it was a part of my life at the time. But now that I am more serious about my practices, not that there's anything wrong with eating out, okay? Listen, I do still go out to eat sometimes. I'm not completely dogging on it. And also, as a practitioner, being able to have the ability and opportunity to put the energy and the order and the structure and what it is I need into my food so that I can eat for myself, I value that. I value the effort that it takes. I value the time I put into it. So this is also, the meal's not going to be cooked for you. The meal's not going to be cooked for you. With the South Node Virgo, North Node in Pisces, this eclipse season in March, the meal's not going to be cooked for you. This is kind of like a metaphorical, magical meal, whatever it is that you're working on in your life, right? Also looking back too at the April 8th of 2024 eclipse in Aries, that opened a door. And since that eclipse, we've had to keep the door open. Big gusts of wind can make it hard to keep the door open. Maybe there's been some weird weather going on, can make it hard to keep the door open. You got to sleep, so maybe you've been sleeping right next to the door with the door open. You know, you do what you need to do to keep the door open, whatever it is that came through for you on that April 8th time. I know for myself, I was furiously writing. There was so much information coming in. I was writing, scribbling, writing. And since then, I've started to practice every once in a while with that same information that I was writing about, kind of keeping note of it. So it closes the door. We finally get to go to the other side. That's this eclipse. It's like we're in the ride now. Whatever it was that came through for you on that April 8th of 2024 eclipse in Aries, that was a solar eclipse. Just pay attention to go back to it. Check it out if you need to for yourself, because we're closing the door. We're walking into more. We're closing the old door. We're walking into more information, more wisdom. Whatever you've been cooking up now is going to be grounding. Now it's gonna be grounding. You're in the journey. It's gonna be grounding. Also, like the grip, the grab, it's like you gotta grab it. You gotta grab it. You gotta nab it, grab it. It's mine now. It's for me. It's for me. Take what you want from this. Take what you want and take what's given to you, because this is, again, very spiritually connected. So take what you want from what is being offered to you, because there is going to be some offerings that come through around this time. It's like we got to get the pot boiling, the hot pot, right? The pot's got to be hot because it's got to be hot. You got a meal to cook. You're cooking food, okay, but the ingredients are coming to you through the practices that you've been practicing. Maybe you've been growing them in your garden. Maybe the spirits are dropping them off for you, So that's when I was talking about the wheel earlier and keeping up your offerings, there's work that you're going to need to be doing on the earth, and without the offerings of the spirit, it's going to be really difficult to do the work on the earth. They go together, back and forth. So that's going to be that eclipse. We also, too, in March, a lot of, again, weird stuff going on. We have Venus is going to start its retrograde. This is also, so I said we're going to get a little bit more into kind of what this retrograde is going to look like. Retrogrades, there's 3 different things I work with when it comes to retrogrades. Normally, we think about them in a reconsideration, like we're reconsidering things. That's because we're looking backwards at what we have done and what we've already done, what we've already accomplished, who we've already been, and saying, do I want this? Do I not want this? Do I want to continue this? Do I not want to continue this? And because of that process, retrogrades are binding. What we do in the retrograde binds us up until we go through the next retrograde. And Venus, it's like a year and a half around that it retrograde every year and a half. So it's a little bit longer of a time period between Venus retrogrades than Mercury retrogrades several times a year sort of thing. So we have more time, which means that the binding is stronger. So if you are reconsidering any of those Venus archetypes, the feminine, the giving and receiving, which we're vulnerable in both the giving and receiving position. So learning the strength and the weaknesses of those. Is there anything within your Venus? Also could be your Libra and your Taurus, your 2nd house and your 7th house. During this retrograde, there's going to be some reconsiderations of that energy and how you are practicing that feminine archetype, giving and receiving, offering circle back and forth is going to bind up that structure for the next about year and a half until we get into the next Venus retrograde. So having this is why prior to, going back to Jupiter going direct, Mars going direct, and having this like time to get up, like you got to get up now. That's part of the reason that getting up period is so important, is because what happens when Venus goes retrograde, so we're getting up, we're doing the thing, and then Venus is going to go retrograde. When Venus goes retrograde, now we're binding up the order of what is to come within those feminine archetypes for the next year and a half. We also in retrogrades are going to be receiving harvest. It could be a time where things are grounding because we are turning around and kind of looking back. So it's like wisdom grounding, information grounding, activities grounding. There could be different just things that have been done and spun within Venus energy happening. And this goes for any retrograde. We're just talking about the specific Venus retrograde, but things come to ground. So that's another part of the binding. It's like, okay, well, you've done this work here. It can ground. And what are you going to do with it? That's going to bind up the next cycle as well. So some different things to think about as that Venus does go retrograde. So that's March. Again, March is going to be a month where, yes, we're in eclipse season. This is another month where we have a lot of those North Node Piscean conjunctions happening, a lot of things being lit up with that. So just remember that that's going on. I would definitely check out your Pisces house and your Neptune placement and any Pisces placements you might have, because they're going to be very, 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 very directly active through February, March, and April. So just go clock that, look at it, check it out for yourself, see what's going on, and just kind of relate how you need to for that. Yes. April, Venus is going to go direct on the 13th during a full moon in Libra. Who orchestrated this? Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? There's been several things over the previous couple of years astrologically where I'm like, somebody planned this. It wasn't me, obviously. I don't control the planets. Thank the gods I don't control the planets. But somebody did. Somebody planned this. Where is this coming from? This is one of those moments where I'm like, okay, well, clearly this is planned, because something plans, something goes to plan, maybe possibly two. Look at the words on that, the spelling. All right, interesting. Venus goes direct on the 13th. 13 in my practice, how I sit with the number 13 is associated with the mothers. Venus is a feminine archetype. So we have Venus, a feminine archetype, going direct out of its retrograde on the 13th, a day associated with mother energy. And it's a full moon in Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus. Interesting. We also just had our South Node in Libra. So more than likely, the picture I was getting as I was getting the notes set up for this podcast, the picture I was getting is like just this feminine energy that's been through it, had to go through it, and is rising. Someone who is rising. A woman, womb body, feminine energy, mother figure, however you sit with that energy for yourself and in your life, okay? It's rising time. It's rising time. It's rising time. It's like triumph, victory, like a silent triumph, a silent victory. Something maybe that you've promised that feminine energy within yourself over the previous year and a half since Venus was retrograde, which was like September-ish time of 2023, just for, I don't know, like ballpark kind of energy on that one. Yeah, we're rising. We're rising. Things that we're realizing. The feminine rising also. Guess I didn't really think about those words before I said them, but yeah, that's true. Feminine rising. Interesting. So keep doing what you need to do. That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. We do have conjunctions in April still happening throughout Aries and Pisces. So there's going to be a lot of really big realizations. There's going to be a lot of really big realizations. The feminine rising, we got some big realizations. This is a time also, if you have spiritual information that is not meant for anybody except for you, this is a time where the secrets are going to start to come through. And really the whole entire year this year, and Pluto and Aquarius, valid. The whole entire year this year is like, okay, here's the information. What are you going to do with it? Here's the secrets. Here's the spiritual wisdom. Here's the spiritual secrets. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to go tell everybody about it? Are you going to keep it to yourself? If you're keeping it to yourself, why? If you're telling everybody about it, why? So just open your eyes, realize what you need to, and really discern who needs to know the information and who does not. Sometimes you gotta keep it. Sometimes you gotta keep it. Sometimes you gotta keep it. Sometimes it's not for anybody else. So work with it how you need to. Just something to note for April. Once that eclipse in Aries happens, we got a little bit of a turnaround with the information. A lot of spiritual information is going to start to ground after that. So just in the turnaround, have your wisdom, discernment, feelers going off, going out how you need to. That's true. Yeah. This is also a time where make sure you get out and build and play, and everything will be okay. Like, this is a time where things could start to really go your way. Yes, things could really start to go your way. So if that is really true for you and you're really, really in the work and the energy of like, I need and I want my dream to come true, and you've been doing the work that you need to do, good. April will ground a lot of that, like starting. It's like the seeds are under the earth, right? Seeds are under the earth, under the earth, under the earth. April is like the sprout pops out. Oh, great. Thank you. Fantastic. Also a time to relating to people, maybe more social activity as well. So just, necessary, needed as you feel it is. May is when our Pluto retrograde starts, and America, what are we doing? America, what are we doing this year? This is going to be an interesting year here. We're not We're not to July 4th yet, but there is a transit on that day. What are we doing this year? So Pluto starts its retrograde on the 4th of May, moving us into, for the first time, grounding the Aquarius energy since Pluto went into Aquarius in November of 2024. Interesting. And if you've been listening up, if you've been watching the channel, if you've been watching the podcast, you know that I've been mentioning this reading that I did, because I occasionally will get on to live stream and I'll do collective readings. I did this reading for Pluto moving into Aquarius the day before Pluto moved into Aquarius. It was like less than 24 hours. I just felt it. I was like, we need to get this out. We need to get this done right now. It needs to be done right now. So I got on, I did a reading. And in that reading, one of the things that came through, and I've said it in multiple episodes at this point, so I'm clearly repeating myself if you've been here listening. Thanks for listening to me. Repeat myself, because yes, it has been something that I've been in repetition with. There's something with the Aquarius energy that has been bouncing around and bouncing around and bouncing around up in the sky. Aquarius is the air that is way out there. It borders our atmosphere. Okay, that's one of the relations. It also carries the Piscean clouds. It's the air that carries the clouds. Gorgeous. So we've had something way out there, bouncing around. And I said in that reading, it's going to take some time to ground. Okay, it's going to bounce around for a while, and it's going to take some time to ground. Also, we have the planets of Uranus, and Saturn kind of watching over us, being like, okay, kids, what are you going to do with this new energy? We need to see, we need to know, we need to understand. What are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with this? And that's going to change kind of what is grounding on a collective level, on a protective level, on a personal level, on a community level, however you might relate to that. Because Pluto and Aquarius does have to do with our groups, our social groups and social dynamics. So what are you going to do with it? We want to know. We want to know. What are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? So the bounce around is going to ground. When I was writing this episode, I was like, oh, this is when it's going to ground. Oh, okay. We got some time frames now. Good. This is when it's going to ground. When Pluto starts to retrograde, what did I say earlier about retrogrades? That's when things come to ground. It's like a time of harvest. So during this Pluto retrograde, we're going to start to have, it's going to start to ground. And what I saw when I was doing this, it's like for people who are like, it depends on how you've been working that energy. For some people, it's going to float down like a feather and it's going to land really soft, okay? You'll be able to pick it up and be like, oh my gosh, how beautiful, how gorgeous, so light, airy, feathery, love it. For some people, it just depends on what you've been working and the energy you've been working in. Because for some people, it could come to the ground, smack. Not an attack, just like it's going to ground very firmly, very, very sternly. So again, not an attack, that just a firm grounding. So it depends on what you've been doing and how you've been doing it since Pluto has entered Aquarius, but do understand that we have a really big grounding that is going to be happening this year and through kind of 2027 to set us up for the long-term transit of this. But it starts in this retrograde, so... Love that. Gorgeous. We also have Saturn enter Aries on the 25th of May, and interesting, okay? We'll talk a little bit about spiritual, because we already have Neptune in Aries, right? Okay, so I'm going to wait till we get to the conjunction of Neptune and Aries to really like dive headfirst into that. But Saturn... Let's talk about that for a second. It's the order of the head. Saturn in Aries, the order of the head. It's also the order of war. Mars retrograde right now that we're in at the beginning of 2025 is asking us to get our priorities together. Mars retrogrades ask that we get our priorities together. The warrior comes home, we get to rest, heal, digest, feel comfortable, safe again, as long as your Mars priorities in your chart are really like taken care of. Then we set off again. We're going to war again. We're going to battle again. We want profit. We want to make sure that we can profit off of it. Okay, we're going in for something. That's Mars when it goes direct. And it's direct for like 2 years, and then it has about 8 to 11 weeks of a retrograde. So we're in the retrograde right now at the beginning of 2025, letting us get our priorities together, rest, heal, digest, feel through some things. It's going to be in Cancer for a little bit too. So like we got to feel through some of the heart work, priorities of the heart. Okay, it's a new start for the heart this year, new start for the heart because of that. So when Saturn enters Aries. A part of this, the Mars retrograde that we're in now, that will go direct during the early months of 2025. Saturn entering Aries is like, okay, well, those priorities, like, either you've got it together and it's going to be easy weather, or you've been trying to be clever and there's some cords to sever, and we've got to get it together again. So if you're feeling like Mars energy over the next couple of years is going to be really, really like, continue to activate, continue to activate, do, go. It's very much a do and a go energy. So just kind of keep that in mind for yourself. This is with the South Node that was in Libra, we had a lot of time to like rest, digest, feel through some things. We had to do a lot of inner work. There was a lot of shadow activations in the previous couple of years as well. This next year, this coming year, is not going to be as shadowed. It's going to be very light, and also a birthright to fight. Okay, very light, a birthright to fight. There's a lot of bright light, not as shadowed. So just in preparation for that. Also too, where is this? Saturn in Aries also asks that you overdo it a little bit. Overbrew it, over and over again. Aries is the primal fire. It's the primal spark. It's the beginning. It's the start of things. So if you are really in the energy of Saturn in Aries asks that over and over again, you light a spark, light a start. It has to be, and you have to keep order so that if you're thinking about the sparks and the start, that you have time to go and do them. I'll leave it there for that one. So just prepare as necessary and needed. Again, the get up, the masculine energy this year is really like, poof, it's up, it's ready to go. It's up, it's ready to go. It might not know exactly where it's going yet. Totally valid. Very cool. Love that. We love a fool. You know what I mean? Love a fool. Love a reason to be cool. It's a new season. So, but it's very up. It's very up. It's very go. It's very, also a little bit for show, a little bit different. So that's going to be at the end of May. June and July, different. As I was writing the notes for the podcast for this month, or for this year, my goodness, for this year. As I was writing this, June and July, something caught my eye about it, and I was like, these are like stuck together. I'm not really sure why, but June and July, I put them together. I put them together because it's like, for whatever reason, they go together. June and July this year, they go together. It's like a one big long month. Or like one cover over both of the months. I'm not really sure how to explain it other than like they kept sticking together. When I was writing the notes, I put down all the months, and then June and July, for whatever reason, they like wanted to stick together. And I was like, no, you have to be separated, you know? But then I started writing stuff for June and July, and I was like, maybe they do need to go together. Okay, so togetherness, interesting. Togetherness. Maybe there actually is going to be an order of togetherness in June and July. Curious. I wonder how that will play into relationships. What a realization or a information. Cool, interesting. So that's June and July. One of the things that we're going to feel, comfort in the new territory. We kind of also finally have a handle on things. It's like, okay, I got to figure it out now. The beginning of this year, up until June and July, like the first half of the year, lots of activation, lots of new start, lots of like, gotta get up, gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta do it right now. June and July is like, oh wow, I have done a lot. Oh, I actually know something. I have done a lot. I actually know something. Okay, cool. Good. This is also a time where we start to realize our potential. We're in a new story at the beginning of 2025. We're in a new era. Pluto just moved into Aquarius. New era, new story. Beginning. We're in the beginning. January, we're wrapping up the old story because we're in the beginning. We realize we don't need some of the stuff, right? And then we get adjusted. You got to start some new things. If you're at the beginning, of course, you're going to have to start and activate some stuff. Makes sense. Valid. Clearly. Yeah. Clearly. Then we get into June and July. Oh, I understand my potential now. I got a handle on the tools a little bit. I kind of understand. Look at how grand this could be. I kind of understand. Look at where this is taking me. I kind of understand, actually. And I could be fully this person. I could be fully in this story. I think I get it now. I think I get it now. It's also going to be unexpected pieces coming together. Not a cord to sever. Unexpected pieces coming together of like, oh, I didn't realize I was going to be a part of the story. Makes sense why I felt like I needed to do that. Okay, understand. I understand. It could be something that you started 6 months ago. It could be something you did 10 years ago. And you're like, I don't know why what a weird chapter of my life. Okay, maybe those skills come back in. It might not be that far. Discern for yourself with timing and stuff like that, you know, it is. But it's going to be unexpected. Unexpected in the sense of like, oh, I didn't realize that was going to help me. I didn't realize I was doing that for this. I didn't realize that I was setting myself up for this, but like I understand now why I was in the energy that I was in. I'm not ever going to be there again. And I'm very grateful for what I did then, because now I understand the potential and I needed those skills. I needed that preparation. I didn't even realize I was preparing myself at the time. Crazy. So June and July, what else do we have going on? This is also a month where we can realize we've been blinded up until now for a reason. Sometimes we just don't need to know yet. Sometimes you just don't need to know because you might not be ready for the information. It might not be time for you to understand. It might not be time for you to realize. And that's totally valid. This is also going to be kind of midway between our eclipse seasons for this year. So that's kind of where we make some shifts and some turns. So there could be some things to learn. There could be some things to earn. There could be some things to burn. However you feel like you need to sit in that. We're looking like very long term in the future and kind of setting ourselves. It's like I've collected all of this stuff and I didn't realize I was going to need it. And now I see the story and I see the pathway. Let me put the stones in the pathway now that I have them. Now that I understand I did need this and I've been carrying it with me for whatever reason, I get it now. I understand the path. Let me lay the stones down. I feel sure about this. Assuredness. Oh, that's going to be good. That's going to feel good. Assuredness. Yes. This is where, when I was like, okay, America, what are we doing this year? Neptune retrogrades on July 4th. Who? Who said when, how? Who said when, how? Huh? In Aries? With Saturn in Aries? And Pluto's going to be in Aquarius? So let's take a moment. Now that we've reached where, okay, see, here's where things start to get a little bit interesting on a big picture, on a big scale. There's been some information I've been wanting to kind of like dump into the show, but I just haven't had the space to do it yet. It hasn't been time yet. You see? Sometimes it's just not time yet. Interesting timing. Interesting timing. Let's look at a couple of the bigger transits that are happening this year, okay? Pluto in Aquarius is associated with, and I think I said this in my previous episode, so if you listen to that one, we're gonna, again, a little bit of repetition, but there's some expansion now as well. Pluto in Aquarius is associated with our revolution, change. It's looking into the future. Things are strange, okay? There's a loss of power within the structures. New structures are rising. There's rebellion. Uranus, moving into Gemini, is associated with the witch trials. Interesting. We also have Saturn and Neptune moving into Aries, birthing new spiritual order associated with secret societies, secret groups, secret trainings, okay, secret information, secret wisdom coming to the light, having a birthright. Aries is about birthrights as well. It's the birth of things, the primal beginnings. So the birthrights are associated with that as well. So the birthrights of witches. Interesting. The birthrights of witches paired with revolution, Pluto and Aquarius, trined with, not necessarily a trine aspect in an astrology chart, but trine just as in there's three things going on, right? Okay. Having Uranus and Gemini, rebellion of information. Those who are sitting in the information that is different. What's really going on? And then we have Neptune, which is the spiritual planet. It's the planet of those spiritual practices. Retrogrades on the 4th of July. You can't tell me that something weird isn't going to happen. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't speculate about that kind of stuff. I don't predict that kind of stuff because I don't need to. And I just don't need to. So I don't do it. Because I don't need to. I don't go through it. I don't need to. Whatever. It's what it is. What's really going on? What you got going on up there? What's really going on? Are you ready? Hold steady. Are you ready? Hold, on a personal level, are you ready? Hold steady. Are you ready? Hold steady. Keep the practices. Keep the consistency. Are you ready? Hold steady. You can't, that's one of the lessons of Saturn into Aries, Saturn in Aries. As someone who has a Saturn in Aries, I share this with you. One of the lessons of Saturn in Aries is that you can't rush into everything. If you rush into everything, you lose your head. You can't rush into everything. So if you're ready, hold steady, okay? That's a lot about this year. There's a lot of if you're ready, hold steady. Okay. We also have, what else is going on? We're going to have more conclusion, less illusion when it comes to the feminine and masculine. Like I said, the previous year with feminine and masculine, lots of healing, lots of reparenting, lots of remothering, refathering, restructuring. It's been a lot of shadow work, a lot of healing work. Okay. The beginning of this year, we have the shadow work that's been done for the previous couple of years with feminine and masculine starts to make a little bit more sense. We start to actually have structure in the light with the feminine and the masculine. Okay, yeah, I understand why I had to do that. I understand why I was working in that. I understand why these shadows were guiding me in that way. Gorgeous, beautiful, love that. When we get to June and July, we start to realize, because Venus enters Gemini, okay, we're going to start to realize like, oh, I've been doing this for a reason. I've been working in this for a reason. Like, I don't have any more illusion around the feminine and masculine anymore. Jupiter is going to be, is Jupiter direct at that time? I'm pretty sure. Jupiter is going to be direct, Mars is going to be direct, Venus is going to be direct. So we have this masculine, feminine back and forth where like, okay, I'm in a comfortable position again. I get it now. I get it now. I get it now. Feminine, masculine, beautiful. We also have Saturn retrograde that happens July 13th. Another Mother Day, curious. The mothers being very active this year. Love you mothers. So good. Saturn retrogrades on July 13th in Aries. Big picture deactivation. Saturn in Aries is a lot about it's big picture. Saturn retrograde is very big picture. So this could be like bigger pictures of the mind. Are the smaller details that you're working in with your practice mentally, anything that might be Saturn and Aries related for you, are the smaller details, are they actually benefiting the bigger picture that you're working in? Aries can be very fiery, and if you lead a spark of trails, you might forget about the final destination and realize that you're like way off course. So just, in preparation for a Saturn retrograde, make sure that you keep looking up at the big picture where you're going. Beautiful. Okay. Love that. It's going to be good. But there will be some restructuring and some reordering. And this is also going to be a time where the mental protections are going to really matter on a magic level. Mental protections are going to really matter. They're going to really matter. I don't know how you protect your mind. There's so many different ways to do it. Okay, affirmations, head coverings. Yeah. I'm gonna leave it unspoken because, protection and privacy is a thing. However it is you protect your head, protect your mind, spiritually, mentally, get some practices up and going before this, because this is time where the mind could come to unbind. It's just going to be a time where the mental protections are really going to matter, okay? I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate again. Don't know why. Don't know what could be going on, but the mental protections are going to matter. So just clock it for yourself, how you need to, and walk it. Walk with the mental protections. Okay. Again, Saturn retrograde July 13th. So as you need to. Good. Uranus is also going to enter Gemini on July 7th. Mental protections. Mentally protect that wisdom and that information. Keep it. Keep it for you. Keep it. Some changes coming through. Don't let anybody persecute you. Don't let them do it. Stick up for yourself. Set those boundaries. That's Saturn and Aries. You got to keep the boundaries. Spiritual boundaries, you got to keep the boundaries. This is honestly a fighting season. That's what this is. This is a fighting season. And we're not just fighting for no reason in this season. Some people like to fight just because they like to fight. That's not what this is. That is not the season we are in this year. This is a season of, I know my birthrights. I know I'm put here for a reason. I know I have this purpose that I'm walking in. You may not fully understand what it is. Do we really ever understand the whole purpose? No. That's part of being human. Going back though, I know I'm here for a reason. Nobody can take that away from me. And how dare you even try? Nobody can take that away from me. And how dare you even lie? Nobody can take that away from me. And how dare you even cry? No. No tears shall be weaponized here. Thank you very much. No tears shall be weaponized here. Thank you very much. You can't take it away from me. You can't be all up in my energy like that. It's very much like making sure that those boundaries are around your birthrights as someone who is a practitioner and as someone who has birthed on this earth out of magic. Hello, magic. Love ya. Love ya. Protections, okay? Protections. It's a serious season. The previous couple of years have been real serious, and it's been serious for a reason. The training, when we are trained, I've been saying this recently, we don't get spiritually prepared for no reason. And preparation doesn't happen for no reason, okay? A preparation season is always for a reason. And we are in, still right now, as I'm filming this, a preparation season. When we arrive at the thing that we're being prepared for, it's time to drive. Drive could be direction. Drive could be a fight. Drive could be I need a boundary. Let there be light, okay? Drive though. So this is a season where if you have any changes of reason, okay, if your birthrights, and this, I mean, I said this recently also, okay? I said this recently also, it takes everybody. It takes everybody. It takes the practitioners you disagree with. It takes the practitioners that you love. It takes everybody who feeds the spirits, keeps the spirits up and fed. And if the spirits are up and fed, so is magic, which means that's gonna more benefit you. It takes everybody. It takes everybody. It takes everybody. It takes everybody. This is not a time where practitioners need to turn on each other. Haven't we learned enough? Haven't we been through that enough? Can we be done now? Can we be done now? Keep order and correction, like check people if you need to, and keep yourself in order how you need to. I'm not saying just go poke the bear. Don't do that either. No poking the bear. And also, keep your dreams fed at the same time. You're here for a reason and a purpose, aren't you? Don't you feel like it? Isn't there some truth in you that you're trying to figure out, trying to discover, trying to uncover? I know I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a purpose. Don't let anybody take that from you this year. Don't let anybody take that from you this year. And if somebody tries to take that from you this year, clear it out. Clear it out. Clear them out. Clear it out. That clearing work is going to look very different depending on who you are, the morals you keep, the boundaries that you're okay with. This is not a year to let people walk all over you. This is not a year to let people do whatever they want to do with you. No. I'm here for a reason, and you can't take me off that path. I'm here for a reason. I'm here to laugh. I'm here to have fun. Why you want to make it so serious and so blah all the time? I don't want that. I don't want that. World. These structures of the world. I don't want that. No. Birthrights, okay? Earning birthrights, protecting birthrights, Saturn and Aries. Discern for you if you're willing to do that. Great. Great. Golly. You can't take a birthright away from a person. You can't. You cannot take a birthright away from a person. What happens if you take a birthright away? You can't do it. But if somebody would try to take a birthright away from another person, they're binding themselves up so that their birthrights are lost, so that they're bound away from them. And that's generational ancestral magic. So don't try to take away anybody else's birthrights. And if somebody else tries to take away your birthright, realize they might be bound up in something that you don't need to be in. And there it is. Okay. Moving on in to August. This technically starts in July. Okay, so here's the really big one. We made it. We made it to the destination. Well, this is like the climactic energy and it's pre-eclipse season still too. So interesting. July 31st through August 15th. Saturn retrograde, Neptune retrograde, 1 degree in Aries. Am I looking forward to this? This is an understatement. Am I interested to see what's going to happen? Also kind of an understatement. Also kind of an understatement. This conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Aries at 1 degree, retrograde. The deconstruction of spiritual orders that are already are not going to be able to be around. It's like the deconstruction of spiritual orders needs to ground. Deconstruction of spiritual order mentally, deconstruction of spiritual order physically, deconstruction of spiritual order being like, it could be religion, it could be order in your practice on a personal level, it could be order within practices on a community level, it could be the way that our society is interwoven with our spirituality. There's a lot of different ways that this could be applicable, and one of the things that I just want to note to keep in mind with the transits is like, a lot of this stuff is unpredictable because it depends on how we as a people use the energy. The energy shows up neutral. I'm just here. What are you going to do with it? So this conjunction is asking us to really like turn around and ground some stuff. This is also a time where you really, when I was talking about really making sure that you got it together for the year, really make sure you got your practices together. You don't got to tell anybody else about it. You don't have to. It could be the smallest thing too, just making sure that you know that every day you got to do this, or you do this once a week, whatever it is, however you do it, whatever it is, however you do it, make sure that you do it. Make sure you go and brew it. I've been saying that for months. I say that at the end of almost every TikTok video and YouTube video now too that I make. Yeah, keep up what you need to do. Go do what you need to do. Brew what you need to brew. It's important that you do that. And really this conjunction is it allows us to see why it's been so important. And we may not see why in the full picture yet, but we're going to see why. Might be some reasons to cry, might be some reasons to spy. And we got our eyes open to some stuff that we're looking at, we're not telling anybody about, okay? It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting conjunction. It's going to be an interesting conjunction. Because our energy of Saturn retrograde, we're looking bigger picture, we're getting things deconstructed so that the bigger picture can make more sense. It's like we get lifted to the top of the hierarchy for a second and we get to see the faults of the understructure beneath us so that we can restructure. Beautiful. Neptune retrograde is illusions. Dreams may not make sense. Transitions are kind of at a standstill. We might not have the spiritual clarity that we normally do. So those are together and they're conjunct at the beginning of the primal fire, the primal spark, at the very beginning. And this is the fact that this is happening, the implications of this through the next 100, 200 years, plus Pluto's in Aquarius, so like 250 years, okay? Because Saturn is one of the rulers of Aquarius, is why I say that, and Pluto is binding. So like the changes that are being made on a spiritual, societal level during this conjunction, during this retrograde, are going to make all the difference for the coming, I don't want to say just the coming generations, because anything that we do is going to affect the coming generations. But it's going to affect the spiritual systems. The spiritual systems and how, as a community, collectively, society, the bigger picture groups, how are the individuals and their practices influencing the structures spiritually that are leading a formation of like I don't want to call it necessarily a religion, but that's kind of the only term right now that we have is like a mainstream word for this. But there is something that it's probably going to be after we're gone. Okay, you, me, the people that are here right now, it's probably going to be formed when we're done here. When we're done. Moved on. But there's going to be work coming through during this retrograde. These retrogrades, Saturn and Neptune, and their conjunction. It's going to alter the course of history. It's going to alter the course of herstory. It's going to alter the course of the stories that we tell for many hundreds of years. You may not realize it at the time. Aries is the spark, is the start. So you may not realize it at the time because the fire hasn't really burned yet. It's just the spark. It's just the start. There's going to be some changes. There's going to be some changes and some rearranges because of the work that practitioners are doing in this time frame and on this period, and because of what society is like learning about. I'm very interested to see what happens. More than interested. I'm invested. I'm invested, apparently. I like that. I'm invested. I'm a little bit invested. Let it be rested. Let it be rested. I was going to do the entire year in this episode, but we're already at an hour and a half. So I'm going to make a part 2 for the end of August, September, October, November, December. So really like the later half of the year. That's what I have for now. We'll have Astrology for 2025 part 2 come out. I don't know exactly when, but this is the special episode number 1. Let it be done. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up your brew. Keep doing what you need to do. I'm going to go get this edited and get it up for you because that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Keep doing what you need to do. It's a serious year, but think of all the serious stuff we've been through in the previous years this is going to be my closing note for us. Think of all the serious stuff we've been through in the previous years that has been hard. It's like hard, serious stuff. Going through the muck, serious stuff. I don't want to do this serious stuff. If you've been doing that, this year just says stay serious and you're rewarded now. Stay serious and you're rewarded now. It's not like any extra hard lesson. Just stay serious and you're rewarded now. Are you going to be serious about it? There's rewards. There's rewards. No more cutting the cords. No more doing the dirty shadow work. No more up in that, and unless it's necessary. Unless it's necessary. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. But this year, you keep up on that work. You keep up on your strictness, your sternness, your seriousness. You're going to get more than you asked for. You're going to get more than you asked for. That's what this year is for. Oh, goodness. So I'll leave you with that. That's true. That's true. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. I'll talk to you soon.